Thanks, Christopher. I'm triply honored to be here today. First of all, to be on the territory of the Algonquin people who signed a historic agreement in principle treaty yesterday with the Government of Canada and the Government of Ontario, and I represent them on clean energy issues. I'm also honored to be here, Excellency, with the EU cooperation of Canada. I think the series you're launching is fantastic in terms of the year of the EU. And I'm honored to represent dozens of First Nations, Métis, and Inuit communities across the country from every region of the country, including all 5 in Northern Canada's Arctic, as they look at clean energy opportunities for themselves. The question you posed, Christopher, is to say, how do we break the logjam? We have about 140 communities that are dependent on diesel that are Indigenous across Canada. Why are they still on diesel? So here's the prediction I will make. Within 10 years, we will cut diesel consumption in those communities by half by putting into place more durable, reliable, clean energy systems. And here are the 4 things we need to do to get there. Here's the first barrier. These barriers, by the way, are very common across the circumpolar regions. You'll see them in Russia, in the Scandinavian countries, in the United States of Alaska, and the state of Alaska. The first barrier is when you replace diesel fuel with examples like Stephen gave, with biomass, or with solar energy storage, or with wind diesel, or with hydro. What's the price you're offered for it? If you develop renewable energy on the grid, you have a power purchase agreement that pays you for all the power you generate. There's a price that's negotiated or it's set through a standing offer. In the north, you can't have that. But we need to have something there. What we need across Canada is an avoided cost formula that truly recognizes the value of replacing diesel that's used for heat and power, which includes the price of fuel, the price of transport, the price of storage, the value in operations and maintenance, the value of better use of capital, and other benefits that are hard, the issue of reducing spills, the issue of improving health status in homes. So the first thing we need federal and provincial governments to do in this country, and I think that extends across the circumpolar region, is to get an avoided cost formula that's consistently applied, that may vary in numbers across different regions and communities. There's a meeting in November 15th and 16th in Manitoba with all members of the Canadian Federation to look at that issue. What's the second problem? If you want to say replace, as we're doing, for example, hydro to replace all of diesel in the community of Inukjuak and Nunavik, we need a power purchase agreement with the local utility, Hydro-Quebec in this instance. Is there a northern and remote power purchase agreement? No. But there are power purchase agreements in Ontario, Quebec, BC, Canadian provinces for the grid. We need to collectively design a common power purchase agreement template that could be applied to all Arctic communities. One of the biggest problems when you try to replace diesel through energy efficiency, through better demand-side management, through better community management and renewable energy, is that you're doing it on small projects, each of them one-off, each of them a major challenge. The solution is to have things that are scalable. To have scalable, you need consistently applied opportunities, a common avoided cost formula, and also a common northern remote power purchase agreement. The third barrier is community capacity. One of the incredible privileges of my career was this summer when we launched the 2020 Catalyst Program. That's numerical, 2020 Catalyst Program. You can Google that. It was a capacity building program that took over 3 months, 3 weeks in Ontario, Quebec, and BC, where we had Indigenous leaders come and learn from other Indigenous leaders who've done clean energy projects, including people like Peter Kirby from Takarua Tlingit near the Yukon, which replaced diesel with hydro a few years ago. Of those 28 were from off-grid communities. I can say to you today that every one of those 8 have the capacity today to develop clean energy solutions for their communities. So on the capacity challenge, there is an option now. And the final challenge is this. If you replace diesel with a renewable source, you want to make sure that renewable source can last over time. In some cases, you could put in solar storage, that you can modularly increase that over time, but even then, you've got to put the basic infrastructure in. If you're going to put the basic infrastructure in, you have to make sure it's going to last 10, 20, 30, 40 years or more. And therefore, you tend to build more capacity of generation than you actually need today. That means you're expending dollars on capital on day one to build and put into place hydro, wind, biomass, solar storage. But you won't be generating income for that until the demand grows over time. So there is a capital gap. So the Assembly of First Nations and also Inuit organizations have made a case in the current budget process in Canada that we do need a particular fund for off-grid communities to recognize that there is a support the North needs, communities need, so that we can make sure that the cost of putting a durable system into place that will last generations does have a cost up front. We can cover most of the cost from replacing diesel, but some of the capital cost requires fiscal support. If we do those four things, put community capacity into place, and we have the solution today. Two is to put an avoided cost formula that governments agree to apply consistently across the country. And I think we're getting there. The Gwich'in Tribal Council is doing a study of that today as we speak. It'll be available in 2 months' time. Thirdly, put a consistent northern renewable power purchase agreement so communities in Maine and Nunatsiavut, or in Inukjuak and Nunavik, or in Iqaluit and Nunavut, or communities in Northwest Territories, the Yukon, can consistently take projects forward. That will allow us to do dozens of projects at a time, not the odd one every few years. And finally, the capital gap is an issue of building the infrastructure for the North we need. That, I believe, are the four actions that we take, and we are on the cusp of moving on all four of those. If we take those, we will reduce diesel consumption by at least 50% in northern Canada. Thank you.